Welcome everybody to the Touchpoint Group US Market Banking App Performance Review for January of 2022. And I have with me Tony Patrick, who's the Head of Customer Intelligence at Touchpoint Group. And I suppose the big news of the January month, looking back at it, is there's no big news, Tony.
Well, that's right. But I suppose there's been some big moves in terms of some improvements. It's probably a period of consolidation for a few of these banks because there's been a few big hits across the year. We've seen a few of them have, and they're just trying to sort of fix that as they move forward. So obviously looking forward to the rest of the year where they see app updates happen from the big players like Apple and Google. So just having a look here, we can see these are obviously a few major players across the US, and we follow like pretty much all of the banks across the US. But what we're seeing here is just a few of the major ones. Now, one of the things I want to just talk about here is we've got these scores we're seeing here are from what we call engaged customers. So those who've given a score and a comment. Now, that's very important. It's different to if you see your score across time in, say, the app stores, and you might see it sitting at 4.2, and it remains pretty much at 4.2 all the time. And you don't get these movements we're seeing here. Now, the reason we're getting these movements is these people have made a comment, they've given a score, and we can actually see what's going on. And they're the most important people to look at, these engaged customers. Now, one of the things here we can see with US Bank right at the top there, and even with Citigroup, they're really good. They're one of the global leaders in terms of this consistency. You can see is, US Bank is sitting there at pretty much 4.75. It's had a dip in December and improved from there, but they're really very well sort of managed apps, I'd say, from that perspective. Now, one of the things we can also see is at the bottom there, we can see that USAA, we talked about this last month, it dropped. Now, in November, at that really bottom point there, we can see that's when the new Android version came out, and that's where we saw them have the biggest hit. But they've improved since then, and that's really good. But what I want to have a look at, let's focus on them on USA Mobile. So what I can do is I will just filter just to them. In these brands we have sitting in here. So I'll filter on them and apply that. And we can see there, that's just the same score we just saw before. What I'll do though, I'll have a look at this from a perspective of just from the source. So if we look here, we can see that I'll look at just App Store to start with. It's relatively flat. So we're not seeing that same dip down. But Google Play, we can see it's had that massive drop into November with that update. And then it's actually climbed slightly in December, but it's had its biggest improvement into January. And we can see there that that's why that USA has gone down, because of Google Play, because of the Android issues they're having. What we're looking at here is having a look at December and January, and we're comparing. This is USAA for Google Play only. So we're looking at a very specific area. We're seeing what things have actually improved. So we can see there that unreliability was at about 41%. So 41% of the comments coming through were about unreliability, and that's massive. So that's where their major issues were. They've improved that to some extent at getting down to about 27%. So it has improved, and we see there's your app not working, bugs have nearly halved. So that's a really great improvement for them. Now, what I can also do here is let's have a brief preview while I'm here of what we've got so far into February. Now, this is a quick look to see how they've gone. So I've added that in. What we can see here is pretty much it's the same as what we're seeing for January. So they've maintained that improvement, which is great. Obviously, we'll get more data as January goes through, but we can see what they're up to now. It seems to have maintained that. But I suppose one of the questions here, though, is what does it actually mean? What I'll do, I'll just have a look at this perspective, which is just a simple crosstab. But what we can do, we can crosstab all of those issue types with the features sitting inside the app. So, for example, here we've got across the top, app technical issue, app bugs, apps hanging, it crashes, and all those types of things. And down the side, we've got various features as part of the app. So, authentication, so logging in, payments, check deposits, for example. Now, of course, what I can do here is I can look and say, look, there's been a technical issue with check deposits, and I can select that. And on the right, what I do is I actually get up there some actual comments coming through about that check deposit feature. So let's look at those who are particularly angry in this case, the 1s and 2s, and apply that. And what I can see here is there's constant glitches going on in that check deposit feature. again, getting a 404 not found error. There's some people here with, again, another 404 error. And the check deposits aren't working because it's not recognizing the check and things like that. So you can see that's one particular thing. But of course, these technical issues look at going across various other areas as well. Like even this sort of the Zelle payments area, we can see there's a few people there of having particular issues in that space there. So if we look at these really angry type of people here, they're having that sort of Zelle payments issue, which is ongoing for them in there as well.
And just to clarify, this is all from comments in the mobile app, feedback in the reviews.
Yeah, correct. This is all from those reviews. So all that stuff it's extremely valuable, but only if you can get down to that detail. So this is what we're doing here, is we can understand exactly what's going on from that feedback. And one of the great things about this is it's pretty much live. So this data is coming through live for us, and we can see day by day, week by week, what's going on. So as something happens, like a technical issue, or as you're seeing an iOS or Android update, you should prepare for that. And basically the day after it launches, you can see exactly what's gone wrong, where it's gone wrong, and what you can do to fix it. So that's one of the powers of what we're looking at here. Now, we've seen how well that USAA mobile has actually improved, which is great. But how far have they got to go? So what I've done here, I've just done a quick comparison of USAA mobile compared to US Bank. And what we can see here is that we saw that 24% of reliability issues coming through for USAA mobile, but US Bank is only getting around 4%. And that is a massive difference. So even though there's been an improvement for USAA, there's a long way to go. Pretty much there's a negative experience going on for all of their customers around this sort of issue. What I can also do is add in a couple of other banks to see how they're going in this sort of technical sort of bug type issue space. So we saw there's a couple of, like Citigroup was doing well. Let's put in JP Morgan and maybe Wells Fargo in there as well. So I can add those three in. We can see how well they're going on these specific things. What I can see here, if I highlight USAA Mobile, I can see it's pretty much higher than in most areas, except I can see down here app crashes for JP Morgan is slightly higher. But other than that, USA Mobile, it needs to perform a lot better on these technical things. It's for us, these are the gatekeeper issues. If you might have the best features around, but if people can't access them because your app's crashing, there's not much point. I can also see that unreliability is it's also reasonably high for JP Morgan, but still well under what USAA is doing. But if I just remove a couple of these just to give us a bit of clarity in here and go back to this space here, we can see that the best in the market, this is our US Bank and Citigroup, who have that consistency across time at around 4.75. If I move back to my very first chart here, and if I just look at, just apply that, and if I look at this from a bank perspective, what we can do there is just review what we're doing inside here. And we can see, as I said, this consistency from US Bank and consistency from Citigroup is due to their overcoming these bugs and crashes, as they occur, but also consistently across time. So then the feedback they're getting is all this positive stuff about how the features are great. It's more, you actually really have engaged customers who want to use your app across time. So any questions?
Interesting that a lot of this is really tied up around Android at this stage with USAA, and they are in recovery mode. So those gatekeeper issues must be critical for banks to be looking at over the coming months to ensure that they get those consistent positive feedback, but also utilizing something like this so that they can drill into it to find out and identify and prioritize what they should be working on to actually get those improvements.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a good point. No doubt they know they have issues, but getting down to that level, they can say, look, specifically for check scanning, here is what the issue actually is what they need to know. Otherwise, it's hard to take action. So from this, you can see from that crosstab we had before, we know exactly what's going on down to the specifics of what they need to improve.
Well, that's perfect, mate. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be doing this every single month to see how the banks are stacking up. And if you're interested in finding out how you stack up and diving deeper into your performance, Sing out.